Howdly doodly, neighborinos, it's Halloween. Hey, guess what I'm going as this year? A dead channel. It's get a little, I can't believe it's not blood. I really can't believe it's not blood. Look, this is just absurd. Just gonna get a little bit of, get a little blood on there. Get a little, oh, yeah. Where's my AdSense? I'm wasting your Patreon funds. Let's get a little up here, get a little on the nose. Just, really make it hard to wash off for the 4th time. I've done this gag 4 times now and getting increasingly good at it. Or however that line goes in The Matrix Reloaded. Oh boy. That's sliding and staining my bed. Okay. Better clean that up. And that's how you make a dead channel costume. Yeah, this stains when it dries, so I better go wash this off really quickly, if you'll excuse me. You got a little red on you. Okay, why is it that every time I try to do a British accent, it turns out Australian, and every time I try to do an Australian accent, it turns out, like, garbage? This stuff does not come off very easily. I'm red now. I'm a tomato now. I'm the Facebook angry react. I'm an angry man now. Call me Angry Joe. This is absurd. So anyway, if you're anything like me, you're probably a 20-something who's too old for trick-or-treating, but too young to go trick-or-treating with their kids. And so that leaves you with either going to a Halloween party. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're watching these videos. There's no way that I'm sorry, I had to break it to you. Or more likely, you're gonna be at home watching some horror movies, and that's pretty awesome, because that sounds like a good Halloween to me. For those of you who've been around the channel for a while, you know I'm really into horror. Just certain feeling that just seeing a good horror movie just gets you in. It's nice. I'm not some kind of connoisseur. I'm not saying I'm an expert on what makes a good horror movie, but you can really feel when a good one comes along, and I haven't felt that in a while. Oh boy.
Don't say it, don't think it, 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 don't say it, don't think it.
Oh, hey, It. Guys, It is just it's a great movie. It's a gem in 2 ways. First of all, it's a remake that is just so much better than the original. I'm sorry, that's just factual.
Henry Bowers. Up here, sharp stuff.
Look, the original It was a made-for-TV miniseries from 1990. It doesn't hold up, guys. I'm sorry. It doesn't hold up that much. And also, It is one of those movies where it's a horror movie, but it's got great characters, and it's got everything that you want in a good movie. Not just a scary movie, but a movie. This is a little bit of a leap here, but it's kind of like The Shining, or Jaws, or Nightcrawler, or any of those other movies where you think about it, and they're just a part of film history on top of being perfect for Halloween. I'm not saying it's perfect, and we're gonna get into that in this video. It's really good, it's not quite great. But it's got great visuals, it's really well directed, the kids are fantastic at acting, they're probably the best part of the movie. I didn't think I would ever say that non-sarcastically. And it's got a nice blend of CGI and practical effects, and well, except for that thing. What is that doing there? That doesn't belong. That's why. Just why. But while everyone is pretty unanimous on it, all the stuff with the kids being cool and all of the smaller bits being nice, there's a bit of controversy as to whether or not it's scary. And honestly, I think It is kind of a mixed bag when it comes to the scary parts of this scary movie. I think there's some great things to learn from It, and I think there's some things that could have been improved. This could have been an all-time great if they just tightened up some things. So that's what we're talking about in this video. All the ways that It tried to be scary, all the ways it succeeded, and what we can learn from it moving forward into other movies. Now there's some critics out there whose opinions I respect and who have very valuable things to say, and who I actually am subscribed to and watch, who think that this movie isn't scary because it has jump scares and doesn't use any subtle horror. On top of that being not very accurate, the mere presence of jump scares doesn't devalue a horror movie. Now, in this movie, are there a bunch of jump scares that are done very poorly and not timed very well and don't contribute much to the movie? Yeah, absolutely. But I'm gonna get into a little bit later why not all jump scares, hashtag not all jump scares, are that bad. And actually, when it's done right, it can really add to a movie. So Orson Scott Card, he's this guy who wrote Ender's Game and The Lost Boys and some other books you may have heard of. He described fear as being in 3 stages, which I'm going to paraphrase right now. You've got dread, which is the anticipation of something horrible happening. You've got terror, which is the reaction to something horrible happening. And you've got horror, which is looking on at the aftermath of something horrible having happened. Again, paraphrasing a bit, but that's essentially what the 3 definitions are when you break them down. I think that's a really interesting way to look at horror, because really those are kind of the 3 archetypes that we see all over the place in horror movies, or in scary media in general. Because from there you could break it down to subcategories like gore, Lovecraftian horror, all that other stuff. You can round up a good majority of what you see in scary media into those 3 categories. So let's talk about how it uses dread. So dread is highly ambiguous. It's the type of fear that's built entirely off of what could happen as opposed to what is happening. It's that feeling you get in the pit of your stomach when someone you love doesn't come home at night and you know they're supposed to be back an hour ago. There's a forest fire that's getting really close to your friend's house. You're walking outside and you hear some footsteps behind you. You hear some rustling in the bushes while you're out on a hike. It's the anticipation of something awful happening. It's that weird limbo where you're about to go into fight or flight mode, but you don't really know what the danger is yet. You can't really address what you're supposed to do yet. And that right there is the bread and butter of every great horror movie. Every horror movie that is universally loved has that atmosphere of dread, where whenever the movie wants to, it can put you in a really uncomfortable situation and leave you there. Now, that being said, dread also needs the other 2 kinds of fear to build off of it, because if you have a movie just with dread and no understanding of what the stakes are or the magnitude of what's going on, you end up with Apollo 18. True story, I actually sat through that entire movie checking the score of the USC-Utah game back in 2011. It was the one where USC blocked the kick at the end of regulation, ran it back for a touchdown. It was good memories. Anyway, so the big twist of that movie was it was space crabs. No, not space crabs. They show up at the end and we're supposed to be scared and like, okay, cool. I've never been more bored in my life watching a movie. Great movies, in addition to having that atmosphere of dread, they also know how to put some scary images in your head to build on that dread. Jaws gave birth to the idea that you shouldn't show your monster. And I feel like that's misconstruing what made Jaws so great. It's not that they didn't show the shark, it's that they didn't show too much of the shark. You saw what the shark did, you saw the magnitude of what it was doing, and then you even get to see how massive this thing is in a shot. No, you saw the shark, you just didn't see too much of it. It struck a fine balance, giving your brain enough nightmare fuel, but then also giving the audience enough space to allow them to freak themselves out. Even though Sinister wasn't that great of a movie, they did also do this effectively, where it showed some really scary imagery and then set up some stuff in the background that didn't directly acknowledge, and then for the rest of the movie you're looking at shadows and you're spooking yourself out. The formula is simple, but it's hard to pull off. You give your audience an ambiguous, hard to define fear, you show something horrible happening, you show the magnitude of that horrible thing happening, and then you pull back and let the audience build on that dread. Because now they're wondering, okay, if that happened, well, what else can happen? And it does a great job in the opening scene. First off, this scene takes place in a location that you wouldn't normally associate with being scary, and at a time of day that isn't necessarily best for creeping people out. It's a rainy day, about mid-afternoon, the time of day that you would normally associate with being safe, and you're following a little kid character, and all of our maternal and paternal instincts kick in, because most normal functioning people don't want to see something terrible happen to a kid. Georgie's adorable, but subconsciously we know he's just... he's gonna bite it so hard. Oh, thanks, big bro. Thank you so much for this ship. I love it so much. I really hope I don't get murdered super hard in like 30 seconds. Even if you haven't seen the original version of it or aren't familiar with the scene at all, you know it's coming. And it's like, I'm sorry, spoiler alert, Han Solo's death in The Force Awakens. You got a ton of build-up, and just with the lighting and with everything, you know what's gonna happen. And that's what makes it scarier, is you know what's gonna happen, but you're quietly rooting like, no, don't Oh, don't do it. That is dread, and this scene is just soaked in dread. And the second character in this scene is Pennywise, and just the design on Pennywise is beautiful. I'm just gonna say that. It's fantastic. Pennywise falls into what we call the Uncanny Valley. The Uncanny Valley is the poster child of dread. It is a great way to creep people out. You know, you look at mannequins, you look at people without eyebrows, you look at CGI Peter Cushing, you look at clowns. All of these things have in common is that they are very much like people, and you acknowledge that is supposed to be a person, but your subconscious rejects it because there's something just off about it. And you get that dread feeling. You get that feeling of, should I be terrified of this? There's no clear-cut danger, but should I be scared of this? And the team on the It remake looked at clowns and were like, you know what? I don't think clowns are enough in the Uncanny Valley. Let's make that nose more realistic. Let's give Pennywise ever so slight glow-in-the-dark eyes. Let's give him buck teeth just to really add on just something uneasy about that. Just kind of looks like he's puckering his lips all the time. It's just little details that tell your subconscious something's off here. And Houston Productions, I'm not calling him out, I'm just referencing his video just because I think it's an interesting counterpoint. He says that the worst part of the scene is at the very end with the payoff, and I completely disagree. The only bad part of this scene is how it starts.
Hiya, Georgie.
Loud noise, loud growling noise as Georgie meets Pennywise. How much creepier would this be if he just floated into frame?
Hiya, Georgie. What a nice boat. Do you want it back?
Yes, please.
This scene would be so much better if they didn't try to get a quick, easy scare out of the audience at the beginning. Because then after a while, the tension builds and he finally says, hey, here's the boat. Take it. And in the original It, you get that scene and the teeth come out and it's like fades to white or whatever, it dissolves and like, oh, I guess he died, maybe? And the payoff to this scene, I couldn't disagree more with Houston. The payoff to this scene is fantastic. Because this sets the stakes for the movie. This is saying, yep, kids are gonna die in graphic, brutal ways. It's like when Alfred Hitchcock starts off Psycho by saying, okay, main character, dead. Oh, new protagonist, they're dead too. Anybody can die. When you see a kid get their arm ripped off, you know this movie can go to places. And yeah, you caught a little glimpse of Pennywise's freaky King Kong leech teeth or whatever, but more so, you saw the effect it had on Georgie and how he never stood a chance. Look at that arm. Pennywise could have grabbed him at any time and he's just toying with him. And just like that, the scene is over and it's the best scene of the movie. Dread led into terror, which led into horror, and then left us back with dread, knowing there's a clown out there with freaking huge, just multi-layered xenomorph teeth that's just so OP to take any kid he wants. And we get that, and now that's messing around in the back of our head, and we get that for the entire movie. That is great. There is no scene in the movie that is as good as that afterwards, and that's a bummer. Sorry, just really quickly before we move on, can you imagine if every death in Jaws was like that? Just quick little dissolve, yeah, I guess they died, whatever. This is where you really gotta go with show, don't tell. You gotta balance show, don't tell with also keeping things kind of a mystery. How much do you want to show in your movie? Because sometimes saying someone got eaten by the killer clown is not enough. You gotta show something really visceral, something really disturbing to plant those images in your audience's collective minds, to really show what's at stake here, and to show what could happen to kids in this movie. Children getting ripped apart, that's something that really just gets in most people's guts. No other scene in this movie uses dread quite as effectively, but to be fair, its specialty is terror. It is great at instilling just this feeling of panic when Pennywise is around. From that effect when he jumps at people with like everything's rushing by and it looks like someone slipped LSD in your coffee.
The best part of waking up is acid in your cup.
To this scene, which is actually, between the opening and this moment, I wouldn't call it a scene, but this moment, it's kind of hard to pick a favorite, but yeah, this scene, kid just broke his arm, he's laying down, suddenly, a little tap of fingers behind a fridge, and he unfolds himself, and there's creepy kids chanting in the background, and he just rolls out, unfolds himself, and is like, yeah, you're dead. You are just, no, this is like taking out the trash, you're dead. Just, I'm gonna have some fun with this, because you're dead. You are so incredibly dead. And that sense of slow building terror, like, there's nothing ambiguous about what is the danger here. You know, this clown's about to straight up eat your face. But it's got a nice slow build to it, and it really just gives me the creeps in a great way. But there's no real payoff to the scene, because then Bill says he doesn't believe in fairies or whatever, and Pennywise is like, I'm not real enough? And then it's stabbed in the freaking face with that metal rod thing. And nobody dies in that scene, because there's too many close calls in this movie. It starts to really grate on the audience a bit when Pennywise has these kids alone, about to get eaten, and then he's just like, oh, you're not scared enough. I guess you're not tasty. And just stop being such a picky eater and just get somebody already. It takes away all of the goodwill that we had in the beginning where we're like, oh shoot, anyone can die. And anyone can die horribly. And the other problem is, just like I said with that thing where they had the loud noise that threw off the beginning of that great opening. That happens a lot in here. Just loud noises just ruining whatever tension we had. There's a scene in the library where Ben, just awesome fat kid, dude's just awesome. He's doing some research and suddenly there's like loud children singing in the background, and it's zooming in on this book, and like, okay, what even is the scary thing we're supposed to be freaked out by? And just bah, 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 and then we zoom in and we see somebody's head hanging in the tree, and like, oh, okay, that would have been much creepier if you hadn't just hit me with so much noise leading up to that. The musical cues came in before the scary thing was actually on screen. That's Bush League, man. That's awful. And then in that same bit in the library, there's this creepy thing where he's being followed by a headless man. And if it was just him hiding and then he walks downstairs and like, oh shoot, that thing's about to come after me. That'd be awesome. It's a great opportunity to add some tension, to add some real dread, and then add some horror where you get a little chase scene in there. But no, as soon as he took another step down the stairs and revealed that, oh, this person's headless, you get all the Inception horns, blah, just, he has no head, and then they immediately start chasing him. It's such a wasted opportunity, man. So now it's probably a good time to explain the difference between good and bad jump scares. So what's a jump scare? It's something that makes you jump. Really, it's just that simple. If you're with a friend and all of a sudden you sneak off and you hide around a corner and you jump out and you go, boo! And then they jump, you didn't really scare them. You triggered a natural fight or flight response, and then as soon as they recognized it was you, they came back down. And yet, you can't brag about, oh, I scared you, when you didn't really put any effort into that. Now, if you jumped out at them with a chainsaw and chased them around the house, oh yeah, you scared them. You absolutely terrified them. Also, they're calling the police. Good jump scares fall into the terror and horror category, because a good jump scare has stakes to it. It has some real meat to what's going on. A bad jump scare is, oh shoot, the cat jumped out, and oh, well, made the audience jump. It has absolutely no consequences, but just, hey, scared you, haha. A good jump scare, just this scene from Insidious.
I said, what do you want? It said Dalton. I can still hear that voice.
I don't know if I need to give too many examples on this, because this scene from Insidious is just so perfect. You get a lead in, you get a story, you get some dread going on, and then bam, this thing is there. It doesn't even jump out. It creates the same effect as a jump scare without jumping out, and it's even creepier because it's in the background. It just gives you the creeps because it's a very scary image. That's the other thing. If you can plant an image in someone's head with a jump scare, again, like these things, like that's terrifying. Jump scares can be a great way to plant freaky images into someone's subconscious in a very quick amount of time. And then right after we get that jump scare, immediately there's something wrong in the kids' room, and so you gotta run. So now terror, horror, what's gonna happen? And then that leads into more dread. What's happening to my kid? Is that creepy Darth Maul looking thing getting my kid? What really perplexes me about it is that it actually it does use jump scares effectively once or twice. Again, that thing where Pennywise is running after people. You got the projector scene. Oh my gosh, that actually was scarier the second time I saw it. Because the images went by a little too fast to fully comprehend what was going on. But the second time, like, yeah, no, that's freaky. It's adrenaline pumping, but it's also planting really freaky images in your head. And so it's absolutely not subtle, but whatever gets creepy images into your audience's head for the next time when you decide to add dread into your movie, oh wait, they don't really do that. And just kind of as a last point, just wrapping all this up, it's just, the first takeaway I had from seeing this movie is it bummed me out so much that so many scary images were ruined by the audio trying to sell a jump scare really hard. Because some of these images can stand on their own and just be terrifying. If the audio guy pulled it back a bit, there's some creepy stuff in here. You could have had a little bit more dread in this movie, which would have really made the terror and the horror all that more impactful. Really, when you look at it, making a scary scene is a lot like telling a joke. Everything has to go right. Just look at this example. Look at two people telling a joke.
This is the face of the clinically insane. If you see this man, do not engage him. Let this video, where he seems just a little too enthusiastic towards women, stand as evidence towards the horrific crimes he will one day commit.
Beware of this man. If you see this man, run away. Because this man is not only a predator, but most likely a rapist. And most definitely a drug dealer. Beware of this man. Stay safe, everyone. Good night.
The slightest change in cadence, delivery, wording, timing just can completely destroy it. One clip is hilarious, one clip is just terrible and cringy. It's a matter of one or two things that can ruin an entire scene, an entire joke. And unlike, telling a joke is often perceived as a good thing. It's a friendly thing. It's, hey, I want to make you laugh. With trying to scare someone, there's an inherent challenge to it. It's kind of like going to a comedy show versus going to a magic show. There are people in the audience who take offense to the fact that you want to trick them, you want to scare them. And so it's a lot harder to scare someone than it is to make them laugh. And I have a ton of respect for people who get horror and can make genuinely creepy, dreadful, terrifying, horrible things. The ceiling for the horror genre is so high and the basement is so low. Because bad horror movies, they're cheap to make, and good horror movies, they're so hard to pull off. And even though it didn't hit all the right notes and they misused certain horror elements and things could have been tightened up here and there, and they really missed the mark on a few points, this is still a really, really good movie because they treated it like a movie. You got great characters, you got dialogue that borders on being believable and being clever. These kid actors feel like real kids, and it's just such a fun coming-of-age story, and it would have been just one of the all-time greats if they could have gotten the horror aspect of it going. But that's the thing, not everyone is going to find everything scary, not everyone's going to find everything funny. So the big takeaway from it is that you really need to just hone in on making a good movie, first and foremost. Not a horror movie, not a comedy, really whatever genre you're going for. Make a good movie. Make something that people can empathize with, make something that people can get behind, characters that are likable, and you can sort the rest of everything else out around that. They're definitely doing a chapter 2 at this point for it, and I hope in the other one they do get more dread and more balance between the different kinds of horror. Because now, in Chapter 2, they're going to be adults, and so that's going to be harder. Now we don't have that maternal, paternal sympathy with like, no, don't hurt the kids, because now they're adults. So you gotta make sure that people care about them, and that's, you balance out your horror more. You're going uphill on this next one. So best of luck to them. And best of luck to you guys out there who want to make your own horror movies. Hope this gave some kind of perspective on all this. Hey, you've been visited by the cat of good sound quality. Good luck, and a Tascam that actually works will come to you, but only if you type, "I can hear you now, cat," in the comments section below. Gosh, I was so excited to show the Tascam and show how much my audio had improved, and it just decided to bug out. So what's up with you? What are you doing on Halloween? I think she's freaked out by the blood. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Seriously, this has been I know I've been really consistent, life has kind of gotten in the way, but thank you so much for sticking around, guys. Like released their short film thing, so I'm gonna go review that at some points and do some other videos that I've been meaning to do for a while. Huge shout out to Say Goodnight Kevin. Gosh, Kevin just, man, he's donating to the Patreon and helping production quality, and I was really hoping to show off that Tascam and show how the audio had improved to just really show that their money's going to a good place, but I'm gonna send a very angry email to a very nice customer service person who it absolutely is not their fault, and hopefully get the Tascam working so I can get better audio quality for you guys. Thank you so much for sticking around. You guys are the best. I love making videos. Again, I just plugged the Patreon. I don't need to do YouTube to survive. I need to do YouTube to keep my sanity, if that makes sense. Just need to do creative things, otherwise I'll just fall over dead. So thank you for watching, guys. What do you guys think of it? What do you think of, what's your favorite horror movie? What are some great horror movies that you love and you just watch on a yearly basis? You just always come back to. That's gonna be all for this time. And until next time, God bless and stay saucy.